this is my review of Sonic X. Okay, so you guys remember back in episode 1 when I said how Rouge got caught in the explosion with the Chaos Control and how she got transported to Earth as well? Well, in this episode, we're finally seeing hide and tail of her because she's been MIA for God knows how long and only just started showing up recently. Case in point, this episode is primarily focused on her rather than Sonic and his friends, and is primarily shot from her point of view. So the episode opens up with a jewel theft of her stealing the world's largest diamonds, despite the guards' best efforts, and the news broadcast that Cream and Cheese are watching implies that she's been doing this for a couple of days now, and nobody has been able to catch her. Meanwhile, Sonic and the group are trying to find a Chaos Emerald, and the government uses this to their advantage. They realize that they need somebody unconventional to defeat Eggman, pointing out how his military mobilization and technology is far beyond what they can actually make on Earth. So they need somebody like Sonic to actually step in and help them. And unfortunately it's kind of hard to keep contact with Sonic, but they do have a lead, which is Chris, because they already have somebody on the inside watching Chris, i.e. his teacher, Mr. Stewart, who has been thoroughly established to be a government agent at this point. They decide to contact Mr. Stewart and have him plant thoughts of a Chaos Emerald in his head, so that Chris will go tell Sonic, who will then go looking for the Chaos Emerald. And this plan goes off without a hitch. Unfortunately, our old pal Rouge happens to be listening and tricks Sonic and his friends to go looking for the site where they found a Chaos Emerald, and tricks them into going the wrong way by changing the sign around so that it's pointing in the opposite direction of where the factory actually is, so Rouge can go steal the Chaos Emerald for herself. Unfortunately, as been established in this episode, it winds up being a farce, and Rouge is immediately arrested and brought before the president. With one agent Topaz notably standing out amongst the rest of them, and she also becomes a secondary character in this little episode. So Rouge is brought before the president by Agent Topaz and her group of agents, and is told that she would get full amnesty for all of the crimes she's committed up to this point if she cooperates with the government and decides to become a government agent. And she agrees with the ulterior motive of maybe finding more Chaos Emeralds, which she can then take, because that's her primary goal. She wants to get her hands on the Chaos Emeralds, which makes sense. It makes sense because that's why she was there at Eggman's base way back in the first episode. She was trying to steal the Chaos Emeralds, and she failed and got caught in the blast, which transported her to Earth. But her previous goal of getting the Chaos Emeralds has remained intact. So with that, Rouge winds up becoming a government agent. She's absolved of her crimes and is allowed to keep the diamond on the grounds that she never talks about it and how she stole it. And she is transported in a plane along with several other government agents, including Topaz, to go to Eggman's base and infiltrate it, in order to shut down the power grid so that they can infiltrate it later. And Rouge en route is given a bomb bracelet as a gift on the grounds that the agents still don't really know if she can be trusted or not, and to have that in place just in case she decides to go rogue. So in any case, she's forced to wear a bomb bracelet on her wrist for pretty much the entire mission. But true to her word, she is willing to help, even though there are a couple of close calls where the government agents don't really trust her all too much. But Topaz steps in to defend her, despite Rouge's constant name-calling of her, which is a recurring thing through this episode. But Rouge does pull through. She helps the agents get inside Eggman's base. She helps them infiltrate the base and helps navigate through the base. But Rouge herself doesn't really know where she's going, but it doesn't really matter because it's basically one giant spiral. It's basically just a big spiral hallway that the agents are navigating. But eventually Rouge does find out where she suspects the Chaos Emerald Eggman has to be, and she asks permission to go off on herself and have a look, and Topaz volunteers to go with her, being given the detonator, and the two go on their way to go find the Chaos Emerald. And it turns out Rouge was right. So Eggman has a giant chamber similar to the one he had at his old base, which houses one of the Chaos Emeralds, and specifically the cyan one where he has, and presumably he was planning to plug all 7 in at once at some point, and presumably use them to take over the world, and or teleport Sonic and his friends all back to his world so he can continue to rule over Station Square unimpeded. So Rouge attempts to break into the glass container, but unfortunately they wake up one of Eggman's robots, a robot named Noisy, which, as its name implies, is a giant robot with a lot of speakers on its body that is able to emit ultrasonic waves, and sure enough is able to incapacitate Rouge and Topaz, and even alerts Eggman to the fact that there are intruders in his place, and he sends his security robots to go deal with it. They eventually come to the room where Rouge and Topaz are, with Rouge being unable to actually land a hit on Noisy due to its ultrasonic weapons that it's using, and eventually uses the robot's various missiles and weaponry to actually destroy them, but is still unable to land a hit on Noisy due to it always turning on its weapon as Rouge gets close enough to try and land an attack. Eventually, Rouge figures out a way to actually deal with Noisy by taking the bomb that's on her wrist, checking it into Noisy's main speaker, and then having Topaz press the detonator, which causes its main speaker to go offline. And with the main speaker offline, Rouge is able to finally finish it off and defeat it once and for all. And then they escape the base before Noisy explodes. In Eggman's face, might I add. But with that, it's firmly established that now Rouge is working for the government, and they can actually trust her. Because even though she only knew Topaz a short while and constantly teased her for the majority of this episode, it shows that she is willing to put aside her greed for the Chaos Emeralds and actually works on her job, because her primary method is to get the Chaos Emeralds. That's her primary reasoning for joining up, and the longer she can keep her job, the better. Meanwhile, Sonic and his friends have long since figured out they've been tricked and realize that there is in fact no Chaos Emeralds, and go home and wake up. And sure enough, Chris is very tired the next morning. So the episode ends with them never actually finding a Chaos Emerald, but this episode is primarily about Rouge and her joining the government. So yeah, that's going to be a thing going forward. Rouge is going to be a recurring character as an agent of the government, and we're most likely going to be seeing her interacting with Sonic and his friends going forward. Although I'm not entirely sure what kind of role she's going to play, because as I said, she's working for the government. I'm not really sure how the government is going to play into the story at this point, but we know they're aware of Sonic and have tried to recruit him to face off against Dr. Eggman. But other than that, we have no idea what the government's role actually is going to be. So we're going to be seeing how that's going to unfold in the next couple of episodes and in the overall series as a whole. So that was my review of Sonic X. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon in the description below as well if you want to help support the show. It's only a couple bucks a month, it really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that are my way of saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!